Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of RecruitMilitary Live, a continuing series of live broadcasts covering all things military transition, veteran employment, mil-spouse employment, and much, much more. My name is Lucas Connolly, U.S. Army retired officer and former TAP program manager, here to share with you the ins and outs of navigating the waters of civilian employment. If you are in search of meaningful employment, well, then you're in the right place. Please visit rmvets.com/live to learn more. Okay, let's roll right in. Are you a transitioning military service member heading for civilian employment? Well, if you answered yes, then you're watching the right show. Don't touch that mouse. Today's topic is senior leader transitions. Our guest today is U.S. Army Sergeant Major retired Carol Hymes. Carol served in the Army for more than 32 years, culminating in her leadership as the 3 Corps G6 Sergeant Major down in Fort Hood, Texas. She retired in July of 2019 and continued serving soldiers as a transition assistance program counselor, also at Fort Hood, Texas. In October of 2021, we at RecruitMilitary were blessed to have her join our team as an outreach program coordinator, continuing to serve the needs of veterans, transitioning service members, and mil-spouses as they seek opportunities in civilian employment. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Carol Hymes.
Thank you, Lucas. Thank you so much. It is truly an honor to be here today.
Well, Carol, it's great to have you on the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, now that you all know who we are, we'd like to know who you are. All those viewers out there, hit the chat window and let us hear where are you watching from? Who are you with? Who you are? What your status is? Are you active duty? Are you in transition? Are you getting ready to retire? Are you a mil-spouse? Are you a caregiver? Some other status that I haven't thought of? Thank you very much for joining us today, and let's hear from you in the chat window. Throughout the broadcast, if you've got questions or concerns or comments, jump right in there. Contribute. We're looking forward to hearing from you. All right, Carol, we're wheels up.
Yes, let's go. I am strapped in, Lucas.
All right, we're ready to go. Pre-flight sequences are complete. All safety checks are done. Doors are locked. If they say that if you wait until the last minute, I don't know how many times I've heard this. They say that if you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute. Well, funny and it's mildly amusing. It's just not true, especially when it comes to transitions. Senior leaders in the military have big responsibilities. You and I both know that. And huge demands on their time. How do you manage to draw a line and make the time for you when it comes time to preparing for your transition?
Well, Lucas, good question. So it kind of starts with teamwork. As you know, and you mentioned earlier, often leaders, we tend to work all the way up until our final days, leaving little to no time to take care of self. So with every great leader comes the subordinate leaders that should and can step up in your absence. So it starts with good leadership that not only understands the program, but enforces the program. So for me, I was fortunate. I had a dynamic set of leaders that understood, supported, and enforced every transitioning service member, whether they're a senior leader or a junior leader, attend the transitioning assistance program. So I got the opportunity to have a counselor sit side by side with me, assist me with a timeline so that my transition was going to be successful. And indeed it was.
Yeah, and I think, compounded with that, just to put not too fine a point on it, many of us as senior leaders just need to get over ourselves. We're just not nearly as important to the organization as we think we are. We contribute. We do great things. You did great things. Many senior leaders did great things. But the day you walk out the door, the Army will, as the song goes, keep rolling along. Someone will pick up. The mission will continue.
Indeed it will. And as leaders transition out, Lucas, we always have a replacement.
Yes, actually. And when people leave, the replacement comes in, oftentimes before you have a chance to get out of the parking lot. So some say that one of the biggest challenges for transitioning service members is drafting a resume, which highlights the value of military experience. For us, moving from job to job or billet or posting in the military is a pretty simple thing. Someone takes a look at your records and decides which job you'd be best in, and it's pretty fairly structured. It's more or less done for us. When it comes time to take your military experience and put it into civilian speak, that can be tough. How did you tackle that challenge with your long military experience?
Long indeed, but very, very grateful for it. So, like any other challenge, you take it and you apply the resources, the skills, everything that the military gives us are resources that we can utilize. So I would like to say I utilize the TAP program, right? I also, the Department of Labor has a great resume writing workshop. That was
Mm-hmm.
definitely helpful as I prepared to transition. So, again, allowing yourself the time, making the time, because we can allow the time all day, but if you don't make the time and then take the time, you will never get anywhere as far as transitioning out. So, for as my resume, it was easy. It wasn't a challenge to me because why? Again, that verification of military education and training document transcript
Mm-hmm.
that the military gives us once we join, it captures everything from our training, our skills, our special assignments, any experience, certifications, all of that. And the best thing about it is it's already translated into civilian terminology. So it was really just a review, go back and redo so that it was in the form of a resume. So it wasn't a challenge for me as long as you apply yourself and you get into you again take that time. It's too easy.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said take the time and make the time because I don't think anybody in your organization is going to say, all right, physical fitness test will be done at 0700 on Monday morning. Let's make sure we have the graders in place. Turnaround vehicle at the halfway point of the 2 mile. Sergeant Major, you won't be there because you'll be at home working on your resume and you'll be doing networking. Roger, no, that's not going to come out in the training meeting. You've got to take the deliberate action on your own to make that time.
You do, Lucas. You're absolutely right.
All right. So you've got a great resume in your hand and you're ready to attack the job search. What comes next?
So the thing that comes next is getting out there and searching for that job. You know, it's something new to us because if you've served in the military for an extended amount of time, you're not quite sure where to start. So I challenge every leader because a lot of times we look at the TAP program, the Transition Assistance Program, and we say, oh, we don't need that, but we need it. It gives you a timeline. It allows you to go out there and do mock interviews, search for job employment, find different resources. A resource that landed me on my dream job was recruitmilitary.com. That one resource has over 400,000 employment opportunities. Then
Wow,
that
that's a lot.
sounds yes, and it definitely sounded overwhelming at the moment, but you get the opportunity of narrowing it down to what you want to do. So I would tell you, having your resources, knowing where to go, starts with your installation TAP program, your DOL, Department of Labor workshops, and listening when you're there, getting those resources. I had a folder full of resources. So I'm glad because it opens up more opportunities. And here I am today on a great opportunity.
And one of the folks that has joined us today, Robbie Del Rosario, he writes, hello, DOL Employment Navigator helping transition service members find meaningful employment. We didn't have that program in place when I transitioned out a few years before you. Was that in place when you made your transition or did that start up after your transition?
So it was actually in place during my transition. I actually was able to go to those events, those workshops.
Okay. All right, great. Well, Robbie, thanks for coming on board. So for the folks that are out there looking at those optional classes, those non-mandatory classes, I mean, in the military, we tend to say, well, if it's not required, I'm not going to do it. Well, there's not once you get out into the civilian world, there's an awful lot of things that are not required. You're not in the Army or the Marines, the Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force. Nobody's going to force you to get in line and take a vaccination you don't want. And people are not going to force you to go to a resume workshop you're not required to go to. But if you have an opportunity to get something like that, like what Robbie Del Rosario, and thanks for joining us today, Robbie, what he's talking about here. If you miss out on something like that, you're doing yourself a disservice. Okay, so let's take a look here. Anybody who's watched the show for a couple of episodes, or maybe is just joining us for the first time, you may or may not know, we talk a lot about professional networking. I hear people say your network is your net worth. All right, that sounds kind of cool, like it should be on a bumper sticker, but very true. What's your experience, your personal experience, Carol, networking in advance of your retirement?
So, Lucas, leaders, we network throughout the entire time we served in the military. I mean, in all, not just leaders, but every service member at some point starts to network. So, in my experience of networking prior to preparing for transition, it was very meaningful. I learned how to set up my LinkedIn account, which was a valuable asset when it
Crucial.
came to, oh, most definitely. When it came to networking, finding mentors, I actually learned through LinkedIn how to combat some of the obstacles when transitioning. Uh, I met some mentors that shared with me how they experienced transitioning without all of the new programs that we have in place today. So as they're learning from me, I'm learning from them as well. So sharing their experiences, the knowledge, those many obstacles that are encountered when you're transitioning. Networking, definitely number one key for a successful transition is to get out there, not only set the time, make the time, but to network. It's very important.
And one of the key components that I think people misunderstand about networking, because they say, well, it's not about what you know, it's who you know. That's true, actually, in many respects, because we've got these applicant tracking systems, these computers that look at your resumes, and if you don't have the hard skills on your resume that are going to make that computer go ping or whatever it does when it identifies a viable candidate based on its search protocols, what the resume oftentimes can't capture is talent. And those companies that understand the phrase hire for talent, teach skill, and yet they're using an ATS that looks for the skills and is unable to quantify talent, it's the networking that can bridge that gap. It's the human touch, because a computer can't tell whether or not you are humble or diligent or have integrity. It can just tell whether or not you have a PMP or you've got the right degree or 3 years experience in sales. So absolutely crucial. And another thing I should point out, Richard Harrington, thanks for joining us, Richard. Looking to do a skill bridge opportunity in about a year. Richard, stay in touch with me. RecruitMilitary has an amazing skill bridge opportunity, as well as a number of other skill bridge internships listed on our job board. If you miss out on those, you're missing out on a lot. Someone you might want to talk to, Carol, Jacqueline, transitioning Master Sergeant from Fort Hood, Texas. Jacqueline, if you are not connected to Carol on LinkedIn, I hate to overuse the phrase, you are doing yourself a disservice. Get on LinkedIn and get connected with someone who has gone over the speed bumps and around the obstacles that you are about to face down there at Fort Hood, Texas.
Definitely. I'd like to add to that, Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely look me up on LinkedIn, Carol Hymes, for sure. And I will definitely help you out in any way I can. I love to use this quote, all that I have is yours. So everything that I've learned, all of my experiences, my skills, even the obstacles and challenges that I've encountered, I will share those with you. And I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Jacob Strong down in Hampton Roads. The weather's a lot better down there than it is up here in the mighty mountain division of the 10th Mountain. We've still got 2 feet of snow up here, folks. Y'all down in Virginia doing a lot better. Jacob Strong, Hampton Roads, Virginia. I'm here to help you. I am the career planner at the Hampton Roads Veteran Employment Center. All services are free. We are a nonprofit organization, and he is on LinkedIn. Reach out to Jacob, folks, who are looking to get employment down in VA. All right.
Awesome. Hey, Lucas, we got some great weather here in Texas. Not to throw any shade out there.
Yeah, I know. And don't talk to me about the taxes in New York. I just don't even want to hear. I'm moving. I'm hoping to be a resident of North Carolina in about 18 to 24 months. Knock wood. All right. So let's talk for a second about about translating those skills. Going into boards, for example, it's often about understanding what the regs are and what the standards are and memorizing things. How would you say, is it different? Preparing for a board, for a promotion versus preparing for an interview in the civilian sector?
So, Lucas, I would say that it's not a whole lot different when you're preparing because you always want to master your craft.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to a promotion board, you want to master that craft. You want to talk about, you get the opportunity to tell them a little bit about yourself. We do the same thing on an interview, right? You're selling
Right.
yourself. You're making sure that, hey, you stand out amongst your peers in the civilian employment world. You want to stand out amongst the other ones that you're competing against to get that position. So I would tell you, it's not a lot when it comes to the difference. We want to prepare. So you're going to study, you're going to rehearse, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go in and know a little bit about that job, just like you're going to know a little bit about the unit that you're in. You're going to be familiar with what we call in the military the chain of command, but in the civilian sector, you want to know, your leadership as well on the civilian side. So I would tell you when preparing, you want to utilize those same skills and you want to put in the same amount of effort that you did to get promoted. You're going to do the same thing when you go out there and do that interview for your job.
I love that you said that, Carol, because the parallels are more similarities than they are differences. If you're going into a board for a promotion to E6 or E7 or what have you, you're expected to know the chain of command. I believe in most organizations they call it an accountability chart or a chain of accountability or something like that, depending on your organizational culture. If you don't know who the CEO is of the company that you're applying to, you've missed out on something. If you don't know how that organization is structured, what it does, how it performs, you're probably not prepared.
Right.
All right.
Definitely. Yeah.
And
Now,
you
the
got to
only
look
thing I
sharp
would,
too.
oh, most definitely. That's what I was getting ready to capture. The same thing as when when you walk in, the appearance is the first thing that they're going to see when you walk in on a board. No different when you get ready to transition out into the civilian employment world. Your appearance is going to be the first thing that they see. So you want to make sure that your appearance is always neat and well groomed.
Yeah, as a time as a hiring manager, I have a very distinct memory of every candidate who came in poorly dressed or poorly put together. The others stood out because of their answers and the way they performed. But when you come in the door looking less than professional, it clouds just about everything you say and every other answer you give.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Carol, imagine, if you will, that you've just got into an elevator with a transitioning service member. Maybe it's Jacqueline. You've really only got about 30 seconds to talk to this individual before it's time for you to get off at the second floor. Maybe they're heading to the third or so forth. One piece of advice. You've got 30 seconds to give it. What piece of advice do you deliver to that transitioning service member to help and more in particularly a senior service member as they prep for their transition?
Okay, Lucas. Wow, 30 seconds. So here we go. The first thing I'm going to tell them again is make the time. Make the time and take the time to prepare for your transition. And most importantly, make yourself the priority. Because too often do we make the mission, the soldiers, our junior soldiers, our family, our friends, we put them first. But if you have never put yourself first as you prepare to transition, I challenge you today to make self the priority.
I couldn't have said it better myself. After 20, or in your case, 32 years of service, where selfless service is so important that it's a part of the Army core values, this is the time to put yourself first. Because when you walk into that interview, it is Carol who is applying for that job, not the sixth shop, not First Platoon Bravo Company, not anybody except you. So that teamwork stuff is fantastic, and it makes an organization run well, and it makes success happen. But for you to get in the door at that next opportunity and show your ability to achieve, you got to make time for you. I couldn't have said it better.
Absolutely, Lucas.
All right, Carol, I really want to thank you for being on the show today. It's been a pleasure. I hope that some of the senior folks that have taken the time to listen to us today have taken away a few nuggets of wisdom and have a smooth transition to civilian employment.
Thanks, Lucas. I really, really enjoyed myself. I wish we had more time to talk, but it's truly been great.
Great. Fantastic. Thanks, Carol. And folks out there in internet land, if you haven't already done so, do yourself a solid and use the link. It's scrolling right by at the bottom of the screen, rmvets.com/live. That'll take you to our website where you'll find, just like Carol said, over 400,000 job opportunities from 16,000 employers around the world and around the quarter. These employers want you. They want military talent to help make their organizations better, stronger, faster, and more profitable. You'll also find information about our job fairs held monthly, nationwide, in person and virtual, and a library of content, all designed to help veterans, transitioning service members, and mil spouses find meaningful employment opportunities. Carol, on behalf of Recruit Military and the folks that tuned in today, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And folks out there, if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to tune in next week when we spend some time with Ms. Emily Spencer, Army spouse and nonprofit leader, who will share with us how she managed to not just survive, but to thrive while overcoming the unique challenges faced by our military spouses. This has been Lucas Connolly for Recruit Military Live. Until next time, folks, good luck and Godspeed.